Hello and welcome to this build video for the Beaks, the DIY through-hole version of the Peaks module from Mutable Instruments. There is a whole video about what this is. This video is just about building the Beaks. So depending on what you order, this is what you get. You can order all this yourself. You can order this from a PCB manufacturing service. You can order this from any component seller that does that. Or you can order all this from me on my shop where I have this. You can also order these super simple knobs that you can also order yourself from AliExpress or something like that. Just simple pots from AliExpress. Not everyone likes these knobs. There are knob snobs who like really nice pots. You should not buy these pots. These are not nice. They're really simple, really basic. But just to get this module done, they're really good. We put them over to the side. We take that one over to the side. Leave that for later. I should say that you need one more thing for this. And that is a package like this, for example, from AliExpress or something, that gives you a STM32 development board like this. And you also need, so this is a programmer, which looks like this when it's out of the packaging. So these two cost another $4, I would say, on top of this here. So it all should all end on less than $40 for this whole thing. And then we also put this to the side for now. This is the knobs, pots, jacks, all that. There is a bunch of 2K resistors, 7 of them. We add them there, and then we take all the pots, put over there. These two LED buttons, depending on which color you added, doesn't matter. No matter which color you chose, we put them to the side. The Donkey Kongs and these two long momentary push buttons, move them over there, and then we should have 5 LEDs of your preferred color also over there. And finally, all these washers and nuts. Oh, we had one more thing. This is a small spacer, plastic spacer. We moved that one over here as well. So, do that later. All right, let's put this in somewhat of an order so it will be easier to solder this together. Right, this should be easy now. One thing you might have use for is the schematics. You can find that on my GitHub. So should be 3 pages of that, and that is a good reference to find which of the designated areas here should have which component on himself. So I always like to start with the IC holders. I like that. So we begin there. U2, that's the only IC that we need, or the IC holder we need. There is a small indentation in the silk screen there, and there should be the same indentation in the plastic packaging. You just line them up, do like that, turn them over and solder. And I'm gonna use this one. There's a spacer there. Just to make sure it is flush on both sides. Make sure it is. And it is. So now we just add all the other legs. And for the sake of my lungs, I'm going to start my solder suction, so we get all the solder smoke away. It does add some noise though, so apologize for that. I need to fix this. Okay, hopefully we fixed the tip. Not really. Right, so with that we can start adding resistors. So we can watch the schematics here, and we can see R1, if we start up here in this corner, 1.5K. I think we have 4 of those, that should be here. And there we have 1.5K. It should say on all the resistors, there should be the value written on them. And R1 we have here, I believe that the 2 of these 2 here is represented by these 2 rows here. So we can see that R16 is another one of those R1K5. And then we have R4 and R13. We have R4 up there and R13 just beside it there. We can cross those out. Always a good thing. Now we've done those. R2 is 180. We should have. Here we have 180. That is R2 and R15. Next is R3 12K. We have that there. 12K. Oops, sorry about that. That's R3 and R14. And with that, we are almost done with this row here. Let's put these in place. Hey Salman, talk it. My cat comes and talks to me. I think she's bored and wants to cuddle. Right. We continue following this line and we see R6 is 6K8. There we have that. We're not following that line that good anymore though, so R6 is over here and R11 is up here. R5 15K, we have that there. 15K, that's R5, is up here for some reason, and R12 is also up there. Five and 12. We can have two more, I think, R7 and R10 33K. They're a bit shorter legs, but they are 33K. That's R7 right there. And R10 right up there. And one more, and then we are done with that. Those two schematic lines or whatever. So 1K at the output. Have that here. That is R8. Have that there. And it is R9 up there. So let's solder these in place. We have a few more that should be placed here somewhere. Let's see. We have a 10K over at the... It has to do with power. That's R17. 5-volt power is up here. No, that's the reference voltage is up here. That's what's up here. That's that one. And then we need to look at the next page of the schematics to find the rest of the resistors here. So we have R23 and R24 is the second 10K resistors. 23, that is down here. And 24. And then we have R25 and R22 is 100K. R22 was that one. And R25, that one. And then we have two 15K. Let's see where we should have these. Ah, those are too many. So that could happen if you happen to get too many components in your bin. That is, of course, a good thing. If you get too few, that's not so good. If you bought it from me, let me know and I'll send the correct ones or send you a refund for those. So but this is too many. So we leave that to the side. Don't need that. So that means once we solder these in place, we are done with resistors. 20 minutes into the game. And with that, we have a lot of legs to snip. Let's clean this up. So let's go on to the components. We can actually add all the diodes. They can also be attached from the top side. So here we have, they are not marked, but there's two of them, and that is 1N5817, and they are down here. And if there's not too much glare, you can see that there is, on the PCB, there is a symbol that is a diode where there is an extra line. So on D2, the extra line is on the top. And that means that on this one, there is a small white section that is kind of an extra line. And you line those up, so the white section or the colored section of the physical diode matches with the extra line of the silk screen. So D2, the white should be pointing up, and on D3, yes, the diode should be pointing, the white of the diode should be pointing down, like so. And then up here we have, for reference voltage, we have a 3.6 volt Zener diode. So, and that one is red and has a black line, and that one lines up with the same line on the silk screen again, the black line towards the double lined side, like so. And we add these as well. I'm just gonna take these legs off as well. Now we add the capacitors. And we have these capacitors. So we can start with these. That is, I believe, those 4 ones. The blue ones are 4 and 7. It also says that very unclearly and on the component. But these 4, there's only one type there's 4 of, there's one type there's 3 of, and there's one type there's 2 of, so quite easy. Of course, we have the electrolytic capacitors. There's 3 of that as well, sorry. But of the ceramic capacitors, there's only one there's 4 of. And that's this one, 4 and 7. C1, right there. C2, right there. C6, there, and C5. We can add these. This is a good way to just bend the legs a bit outward. That way the component won't fall out when you solder them to the board. And whatever you do, don't buy my soldering iron. It's the worst. So this is one of those anti-affiliations. I have the JCD 8898. Don't buy that, because the tips are really bad. Yeah, I think that turned out well after all. So you want the solder on the islands up on the leg. You want it to look, so here's the leg and here's the board where it goes. So you want the solder to be like that. And you don't want it to be like that. When it looks like that, just heat it a bit more until it sinks in like this. That's the perfect shape of the solder on the pad. Then on this board that some of you have gotten, the next couple of capacitors is a bit hard to find out which is which. That is when you need my second advice here, and that is to use the Discord. And on my Discord there is quite a way down, there's the MITH PWM Peaks, And if you look here, there's a lot of information, and quite a long way up here you have where people have thought of ways I can improve this, and here they've fixed this, so this will not be an issue with the next batch of PCBs. I have fixed this, but with this batch it is kind of important, so we need to look here. So this is C7 over here, and I believe that is over on the next page. No, let's see. Here we have the 100 nanofarads, which I actually wrote on this. There's 150. So let's start with the 100 nanofarads. So that's C11, and we look here. C11 is actually down here. I know this because this one is correctly marked. So down here is C11. And the two other ones, C7, right? That was up here. And C12. And C12 was down there. So that's good to know. And these solder pads are really small as well. I have also addressed that issue on the next batch of PCBs. So this should be a bit more easy to solder. And we have two more. That should be C3 and C4. And we look, we are done with those. C3, that's up there, 150, and C4, 150. Yes. And these ones are a bit, so this is actually a wider footprint than that, which is also addressed on the next PCB run, but on this one we can just flatten these because they're actually correct for how they are into the component. So like that. we finish off the capacitors with the 3 electrolytic capacitors. They should all be down here. They look like so. They have a plus sign on one side, and then there's a big yellow side on the other side. And those line up. The long leg is the plus sign, and the short leg is the minus side, which is towards the white side, which you also see on the capacitor. There's a white side with a minus on it. So you just line the white sides up to each other like that, and there, and the long leg in the plus. Like so. Ouch. These are almost even harder to solder together because they're really small and they're really close together. I've tried to fix this on the next PCB by widening the solder pads on one axis, so we'll see how that works. And here I did one of these, so it's very important. So these are really close to each other, so it's really easy that you get an error, which I did here. These two are actually just soldered together as one big blot right now, and I'm gonna show how we can fix that. The other ones are okay. It's always good to check that it's good. So these are good, that one is not good. And if you have one that is not good, usually it's as simple as just doing this. You just take a soldering iron and just pull it between the two legs. And we can fix this up like so. And that should have fixed the issue. That's the easiest way to fix it. You can always fix it with copper braids and stuff like that. But I think we got that fixed. So we have 2 transistors and 1 LM or 78LO5, so a 5-volt regulator. That's this one, and that's the one that is down here. That's U4, and the transistors is the Q1 and Q2, and of course you just line the packaging up to the silk screen, and they should slide right in there. And that is, of course, if you have bought the correct version of transistors. Beware that I believe this one uses 2N3904. If you have a BC58 something instead, which can be used, but then the footprint is completely different, so it won't work in here, even though the function of the chip itself would work. But you would have to bend the legs in some strange fashion. I botched that up as well, those two legs. Separated good. Those two are together. You can also do this if you don't have any of that copper braids. You heat it up and then you quickly smash it, or not smash it, but gently tap it to the table, and that way you because the solder is warm and liquid, it is thrown away. I'm satisfied. Right. So this one then, and important that we put this correct. This is the power connector. There is a small indentation on the silk screen, as you can see, the small square there. That is this opening and the square there, so like that. And we add that. I like to add a bit of pressure to make sure it's flush to the PCB. There, and then we should have some of these headers on. We are going to wait with that. We can add the op amp. Again, the indentation in the IC with the indentation of the socket and the silk screen all lines up like that. Right, so then we can continue with this one. Let's leave those for now. We are going to start with the resistors. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 resistors on here, and that lines up with these 7 resistors here, all 2K. That is for how bright you want your LEDs to be. I choose 2K because I think I don't like my LEDs too bright, and I think this is a good mix. You can, if you don't like the brightness of your LEDs, you can always swap these out for other values, of course. And there's also, of course, the thing with blue LEDs is always looks a bit more bright than the red and green and stuff like that. But I think 2K is a good all-around value that doesn't make any LED too bright and not too dim either. That's as important, I guess. And just gonna remove these. Right, next is all the components that is going to go from here and through the front of the panel. So all these needs to be lined up. So we can start with the jacks, get them all in. We can then continue with the potentiometers. Right. I think so. There's always the question if we add everything at once or not. We add the spacer as well. Whoop. Let's just add everything right now, I think. So these LED buttons is a bit special. If you see on the silk screen, you see there is one extra hole. There are 3 legs on that side, 3 legs on that side. Same here, 3 legs on that side, 3 legs on that side, but there's one hole extra up there. And that, if you look on the bottom, you will see there is actually a small plastic shape that is protruding a bit, and that one is the one to be in that hole. So if I place that there, let's look from this side. there, you will see that one is quite straight, standing straight up. If I turn this the wrong way, so here's the plastic thing, we put that down instead, then if you press on it, you see that it will want to be very skewed to the side, and that means that's wrong, and that will not work, because that will also mean that the button will be constantly pressed, because there's like less than a millimeter between the front panel and this here. So it's very important that you turn it correct. There, it's correct. These don't have any way. You do see that the LEDs or the legs just fit snugly in one way, so don't force the legs, just put them as they should. All the LEDs, you will see there is on each of the silk screen of the LEDs, there is one side that is a bit more flat. That flat side is all towards the bottom of the board, and that is the negative side. So the short leg should be downward and the long leg should be up. So just put them all in like so. Long leg up, long leg up, and the long leg is then the positive one as usual. Right, now we should fit this on here, and this should now fit all these components correctly without too much trouble. You will have to have a little bit of trouble, but not a lot. There. And if we press this down here, we should see these two buttons should work. They should work, and everything should be fine like that. I like to add one of these screws up here, so it is where it should be, and at least one down here. That way we know that all these things are where they should be. And then I put it in the front panel. So this one is lying on the front panel, gravity pushing it down. We don't want to add the LEDs right now, though they are not in a good position to be added right now. So we add the resistors, no, the potentiometers, which are resistors, but the potentiometers and the jacks. That's what we want to add right now. my soldering iron is not friends right now. Right, so there. Let's just make sure again that these should look quite good there. And these still are movable. These are movable. Now we also push the LEDs into place, like so. They should hopefully stay in place there. Let's solder them. Again with one leg on each. So if one of them happens to move out of place, but they don't, they look quite the same, all of them. And that seems good with all the buttons, so we can solder the buttons in place. Final button here. That should be it. Again, make sure the buttons work. Of course these work. Why shouldn't they? And that is good. So we need to remove the panel now again, because now we need to add this board to this board after we remove these legs. There. And for that we have headers, and it should be like so. best way to add headers, I think, is to add them both at once. So which one you choose to be female and male is up to you. I choose to do this one, female, sorry, that's female. I've added 2 of these headers. You don't really need 2. I think you only need 1, but I added 1 more because if you're where did I put it? If your STM32 comes without headers, or you misplace the headers you get with this, which I seem to have done with this one, the second one is you can use that to add headers to the STM. But one is used for this, and the easiest way to do this is you just measure up how many pins you want. You press a nail at that point and you just break it off, and that should put those 2 together. And you just do that with all these. And here I did the wrong thing, so you can also use a pliers and just take that off. That works just as well. And then we add these together. We begin with these 2 because more than this is a bit difficult to hold in place. So I like to do like this, so it stands straight. That way. Again, I like to have a finger on the PCB to really press it in place, at least when we do the first ones. Making sure they're well lined up. Here I need the help of my helping hand. Again, make sure it is lined up, and then solder. Yeah, that looks good enough. So we solder all these pins. We are not done yet. So these two are done, but we need 2 more actually. And these ones, again, much easier if we just add them one at a time, because lining these two up at the same time is super hard, super difficult. You have already lined them up with these two, so how these two sit together is not that important, but it's always nice if it lines up good, I guess. And that's down here by this button. And no matter how you do this, it is easier to put these in last, because they are in the way otherwise of putting all the components in place. So it is better, even though it's a bit messy right now, but it is much easier to do it there. And then we have H2 right there. And nope, it's fine. We have a lot of extra of this, so don't know what happened there. Let's just take another one. There. This one in there, and see if it's easier from this way. Oh look, I hit. So it's right there and right there. Good. So we can solder that in place. And there. Now the next step is to add these on the back side here. So if we remove the front panel again, or front PCB, here we're gonna put the blue pill or the STM32 board. So these two should go on here, and then the STM32 onto here. So either you solder this in place, you put these on and put this there, and you solder this in place, hold it and turn it over and solder that one in place. I have one here that I already have legs on that I'm going to use for this one, so I'm just going to add that one here somehow. Finding my way in the world here. So there, that should be it. Those 4 lines, the 4 lines up here, that is those 4 pins that you see up there and there. So that means that they should be towards the power strip, so actually towards the bottom, like this. I should point out this one is actually a good way of showing this. This one has the pins up here has 5 volts and ground. This one has ground, and this one also have 3.3 volts. No, sorry, correct way, 5 volts and ground. So this can be a bit tricky. Sometimes this pin is ground, sometimes it is 5 volts, and it can also be 3.3 volts, I guess. So if you see here on this one, let me remove this, or actually let me put it in just halfway like that. So the last pin up here is actually gone. I'm not using that one on this one, and I usually do that on all my, because this happens a lot. So don't use the last pin up there in the corner of the next to the USB. Make sure to just put that to the side and not solder that in place. Just snip one of these off from the strip so you miss the last one. I would suggest doing that. So anyway, soldering this in place. So there it stays in place. Don't if you do like me and just add a few dots like that, 4 points, don't pull this out, because you will destroy this. It will just rip all these other ones out of the plastic socket. So just leave it in while you solder this in place. There we go. And with that, our circuit should be done. No, this the wrong way. There. Making sure they all get this. There. Yep. So now we add the front panel, and after that we need to go and program the board. I will show that one more time so you have that, so you don't miss how to do that. But first we add the washers and the nuts, and we tighten it all together. Really nice. Again, all buttons is working, very important, so you don't accidentally squeeze them somehow. I've done this quite a lot of times and I haven't done that yet, so I don't think it should be possible, but one never know. I think this is the 5th time I do this. I've made 5 of these. Of course, the 2 first ones were just prototypes, so they don't actually count. There were very many other errors with those. But here, no, knobs. We need the knobs. And here we have something that looks very much like the Peaks by Mutable Instruments, but is actually a Beaks by Modular in a Week, or something like that, with the help of a lot of other people. Emily Gillet, Matthias Levy, and then finally I just made the PCB. So, but let's go and program this one. Final step. Let's go through how to connect the STM32 to the ST Link programmer. So this is a real close-up of the ST Link V2 programmer, the one that I link in the description. So you're gonna use pins 2, 4, 6 and 8, so SW clock, SW in out, digital in out, ground, and 3.3 volts. And as you can see, this is the pins on the most on the bottom side, let's say, of the of this connector here. So this here converts over here. I have a few other pictures of that. So it looks like so. Again, you use these 4 pins, which are the bottom topmost pins here. Another one. Yeah, just to show how it looks like without the cables. Now, this is how I like to connect the cables, because if we jump over here, you see that ground and 3.3 volts is on the opposite side, and the SW in out and clock is in the middle. But if you look here, you see that ground and 3.3 volts is next to each other. So if you have 4 cables, I like to have it like this, because you will change STM32s a lot. If you make a lot of projects, you will want to program a lot of these. So having this side just being straight, so this is green, blue, purple and gray, and they're not turned over or twisted in any way on this side, on the STM32 side. But on the programmer side, you will see I just take the ground pin, that is the gray one, and I switch that over to the outside. So I do twist the ground pin over the clock and in out, and that way you get a straight input into the STM32, so you won't have to do that switcheroo every time you want to connect a new STM32 to the programmer. So this is my suggestion for you to do. Other than that, you just connect clock to clock, in out to in out, ground to ground, and 3.3 volts to 3.3 volts, as you can see here. So here we have in out and clock. It's all there, it's just the same. You just connect the correct one to the opposite side. That's how simple it is, hardware wise. And on the software side, to program the STM32, you will need the STM32 CubeProgrammer, which you'll find a link to in the description to sts.com's homepage. A little bit down, you will find 4 different versions: Linux, Mac, Windows 32 and Windows 64. So download the version you want and install it on your operating system as you would any other program. I'm not going to go through that. What you will end up with is a program that is called STM32 CubeProgrammer. And in this program you can do a bunch of different stuff. You can program it here. A super simple way of programming the STM32 is to choose this icon right here, where you'll just find the file path of the hex file you want. So in this case, the Peaks. Got that there. Then we need to connect our hardware programmer, and once we've done that, we need to and the hardware programmer needs to be connected to the STM32, of course, as I previously shown. And then you press connect here. You will see that you are connected to an STM32 F103 in this case, and that it has 64K flash memory in this case. So we're connected to our STM32. We have the correct hex file, verify programming, and download file, and then we just, this is the standard. These are checked like this when you download it, so you shouldn't have to do any changes here. And then we start programming, and it goes and it verifies, and download verified successfully. File download complete. Okay. So that's it. Now we just put the STM32 back into our Beaks, and we should be ready to go. And finally, you have it here in the rack. I have one with green LEDs, one with blue, and one with red. I also had the red knobs there. So this is just to show how the LEDs look like. If we change to LFO, you should see the how the LED buttons act as well. As you can see, the green ones is a bit more dim than the blue and see, let's find a similar pattern here. They're a bit more dim than the red and blue, so could be worth trying a different value for the, instead of the 2K, maybe try a 1K for the green LED buttons to get them a bit more bright. Haven't tried that, might try that. So anyway, that's it for this video. Now I hope you know how to make your own Beaks, and go out and do that and make music, which I will do with this setup in the next video. Take care, bye.